Agent Power Huddle is a daily jumpstart, giving you all the tools you need to create an amazing real estate career. Led by top experts in the field, you'll learn how to sell more houses in less time while creating the life you want. Welcome to the Agent Power Huddle.
All right. Good morning, everyone. Happy Monday to you, and welcome to another edition of the Monday Mindset. My name is Barry Overton. I'm coming to you from Denver, Colorado, and really excited about the conversation we'll have today. This is one of those areas that I have really focused on personally in my life, just in regards to the goal setting, but I've also coached and mentored many people on as well, because with everything that we achieve in life, at some point in time, there was a goal set, and how quickly we can achieve the goal, how large we can attain the goal, really depends on a few key areas, because there are times when we can, I wouldn't say luck up, but we can almost, in essence, will ourselves to achieving a goal. But if we take certain steps in regards to doing it, we can almost make it systematic in regards to how we achieve goals, how quickly we achieve them, and no matter how big they are, that we're still able to reach those goals. And, a lot of times I think we have to, start by just saying, what are goals? One of the things that I like to always point out is resolutions, like New Year's resolutions that we, as people just normally tend to make versus goals. I've always been one that I said, I'm not a fan of resolutions. I don't make resolutions. Resolutions are like rules. They're made to be broken. And what I mean by that is, if you look at case studies in regards to resolutions, usually by the middle of February, about 80% of people that set resolutions have already given up on those resolutions, whether it's a monetary resolution, whether it's weight loss, whether it's relationship, whether it's, nutrition, which you're eating, things of that nature. People have usually given up on the resolution prior to, making it through the whole month of February. And a big part of that is, in most instances, most people do not write down a New Year's resolution. They, and a lot of times there's not a lot of effort and energy that's put into the thought behind it prior to making that resolution. So I'm going to kind of share what I learned about setting goals and how I go about them, where they're very much different from making a resolution. First and foremost, I look at goals as it's a part of the mindset that creates a behavior for you. And really, it's just small, manageable steps that you're taking to take yourself from a current status that you're in into a new status or realm that you envision yourself going to. And so by doing so, it's going, and that's the small manageable steps are going to be the key pieces, because there are multiple areas and processes that you have to go through as you're moving towards the goal. Now, we've all heard that it's important to write your goals down and to read them on a daily basis. And I fully agree with that. I mean, scripture, Habakkuk 2:2 tells us, write the vision, make it plain. He who reads it will run with it. I mean, it's been since the dawn of time that we've known and understood that writing your goals down is very important. Reading your goals on a daily basis is very important. This is something, if you've ever read the book, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill talks about every morning reading your goals when you wake up, and then reading them again before you go to sleep. I have always been a proponent in believing that, that is something that you have to review those goals. I think in the morning, it sets the standard of the day, reminding you of what these goals are for yourself. Writing them down every day is just as good as well. And then at the end of the day, when you're reading them or writing them down, this is also an aspect of a review of what you did today to bring yourself just a little bit closer to those goals that you have for yourself. And also it also sets you up for the following day, because as you're doing that review, if there's some areas where you're like, man, I wanted to get to doing this and this, but I didn't have the time. So it becomes a part of working on that goal for the upcoming day. And a lot of times I think one of the biggest areas of what causes people to kind of give up on goals or to stop the process of what they're doing in regards to the goals is sometimes it can be overwhelming. So we're going to talk about the small, manageable pieces of taking the baby steps that turn into walking, that turn into longer strides, that eventually go into running. It's all part of the process of getting you to a point where the daily routine of, striving for your goals and all the aspects that it takes to reach it is the norm for you. Because again, if you're on here and you're someone that's saying, well, this is something that is new to me, I'm listening because I want to learn and understand how to be able to achieve goals, then understanding the first and foremost part is, they say, how do you go about eating an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. And that's what we're going to look at here is just, one step at a time. And again, momentum will gain where, eventually the steps that you were taking 6 months ago, you're now running, through that process. So when I talk about, writing the goals down, one of the things that I've added to this is meditating, in essence, on the goal, getting into a quiet place where you can think about the goal. Because it's one thing to write it, it's one thing to read it, but really putting thought behind what it is that you're trying to achieve as well is going to be a very important aspect of it, because that thought, they say thoughts are things. This is, again, something from Napoleon Hill, where the things that you think about, you can eventually become, or you can eventually bring to fruition. And we're going to talk about, how thoughts manifest into a behavior. This is where, again, when you start to think about certain things, you start to think about your goals in the things that you want in the future. If you start to think about them in the present as though they have already happened, you're going to create a level of belief in yourself of knowing that, and not just hoping, but knowing that you can achieve this goal. So having the thoughts become so high a conviction, unwavering faith that you can achieve this goal, that becomes a belief. And then once you have a belief, it's going to create a behavior in you. It's going to create the daily routine, the activity that you're doing based off of your behavior eventually leads into the execution. So there's going to be a part of, taking, thoughts that turn into belief, that grow into a behavior. You get to a place where now you need a plan. And this is where mentorship comes in. This is where people that have achieved the goals that you're striving for can assist you. Tony Robbins has a quote that he says, if you want to be successful, find a person that has achieved the results that you want and copy what they do until you achieve the same results. And I can tell you that's what Tony Robbins did. That's what Elon Musk did. That's what, Warren Buffett is notoriously known for. I think he's 93 years old now. He still reads 4 to 6 hours a day. And I remember reading an article about him of how he used to read and learn and understand Henry Ford. Now, Henry Ford, was in the early 1900s. And it's like, what could Warren Buffett in the early 2000s possibly learn from 100 years ago. But once again, he wasn't trying to learn how to make an automobile. He was trying to learn and get into the mindset and the thinking that Henry Ford had to go into making the automobile. And it's through that it helped him to make many successful business ventures that he stepped into by understanding the thinking of others. So, and I want you to kind of catch that from a standpoint of your mentor does not have to be a physical person in front of you. I think it's good if you do have a solid mentor like that, but in the day and age that we live in now with books and YouTube and all the different, areas of technology, there are people that I follow. Les Brown for years was someone that I followed just strictly online. I did have the fortune of spending 2 years of being trained by him personally, but in most instances, the T. Harv Ekers of the world, the Gary Vaynerchuks, the Tony Robbins, I've met none of these people, but I've taken so many valuable lessons from them. So in that planning aspect of reaching your goal, think about who the people are that you want to surround yourself from a mentorship standpoint. And again, it's their experiences are going to be something that can help you through your process of reaching your goal. So I want to kind of take it from a standpoint. This is something that I was taught about 10 years ago in regards to when you're setting a goal, to really take it, from what we write down on paper and this thing that we're trying to achieve, and taking it all the way down to something that's going to drive you, that's going to really tap into your spirit of your why and your purpose for that goal. So let's just do it from an example of you have a monetary goal. Let's say you've never made $100,000 in a year, and you have a goal to make $100,000 this year. Well, first and foremost, if you've never done it before, it's already to a state of being overwhelming to a certain degree, because easily what comes into question is, how am I going to do that? And I always, share, and many people talk about, don't worry about the how, focus on the why, and the how will reveal itself. So let me kind of share with you how I focus more so on the why. So again, if there's a goal to make 100,000, 200,000, 500,000, whatever the goal is, you have to start really breaking down, asking yourself the question of why is that? Why is it that I want to make $100,000 a year? And, is it, for, the things that it can help me do, the things that it can provide for me, the levels of stress that it will take away for me. So when I'm talking to someone and they have a monetary goal, I take them through a series of questions to really get to the root of the why for them. And if you go into, let's say the $100,000, and I'm asking you the question of, okay, let's envision that you are making $100,000 a year now. And once you're making that $100,000 a year, what are the things that you would do with that money that you haven't been able to do in the past? And, I get answers of, oh man, I would put money away for my kids' college fund. I would take my family on a vacation that we always dreamed of going on. I would pay off debt. I would, retire my wife early, or whatever, or our husband early, whatever the case may be. I would, be in a position where I'm able to help my parents, or whatever the case may be. You want to get the answers from that person of what does this 100,000 represent as far as what they would be able to do that they haven't been able to do before. Once you have that, then you want to ask the question of who does this affect? And in most cases, they're already telling you that in the first answer. It affects their kids, it affects their spouse, it affects their maybe their siblings or their parents. It's going to usually be people close around you that not just you are affected, but those people that are close around you and mean the most to you are going to also be affected by this. And then the last question, that I ask is I have them visualize themselves. They're making this 100,000 or whatever the dollar amount is, this amount that they've never made in their life before. They're doing all these different things that they said they will be able to do for themselves when they've made this amount of money that they've never made before. And then it's affecting, particular family members, husband, wife, children, parents. It's affecting all those people in a positive way. And then I asked them to take all of that into account, take that visualization and start to put emotions around it. How does it make you feel that you are able to achieve those certain, this certain amount of income and do these things and affect these people? How does it make you feel? And I asked them to give me, adjectives on it. And it's joy, happiness, a sense of pride, stress relief. If they're under pressure and financially hurting right now, it's a huge stress relief. And so you can hear all the different emotions. And we talk about that and we sit in that emotion. I tell them to visualize being in that place and feeling that. I can tell you, when I learned how to do this, I just had kind of a handful of things that I wanted to be able to do. My number for a long time was 250,000. And I had made 100,000, as a police officer and in real estate for quite a while, but I had never hit 250,000. And for me, it was, the visualization that I was thinking of is taking care of my kids' college, being able to take them on trips, Dubai. And literally I had a dream board that had a picture of Dubai on it. That was the dream trip for me. Being able to go on cruises, with my kids or my son at the time he was the only one at home. And that was something that stuck with me. And every morning when I woke up, I was in a place of, this is the goal and this is the why. So I almost forgot about the dollar amount because I was so connected to that feeling that I'm going to have. I could visualize myself on a cruise ship, sitting on the deck next to the pool with my son in the swimming pool, playing volleyball. And we're, in the evening, we're at the captain's dinner. We're, having a 5 or a 7 course meal. I had the visualization of everything that was going on around me. And that was the driving force. So the reason I take you down that path of understanding that is that 250,000, the reason that it eluded me for so long was because I was attaching myself in the beginning. I was attaching myself to the number. And when I would get to the middle of the year and I hadn't even hit 100,000, I started questioning myself. I started questioning if I could even make it happen. And then eventually you just kind of give up on the goal and you say, well, it's not going to happen. Maybe we'll set the goal for next year and we would push it out. But what I realized is, two things. First and foremost, I was giving up because I was attached to a number, and that number did not resonate necessarily with me emotionally until I understood what it's going to do for me, who it's going to affect, and most importantly, how it's going to make me feel, the emotion that it's going to put inside of my spirit. See, emotion drives motion. I want you to think about if you're scared, if you're in a position where something happens and you're scared and you got to run, you got to run the fastest that you probably run in a very long time. If you got to fight, you're going to fight, like your life depends on it, because maybe it does. But that's because there was an emotion that was geared up that causes that. In a place when we're in a place of happiness, we will express happiness physically, you know, with extra longer hugs with people when you see them. Because again, emotion drives motion. So when you can take your dollar amount, this one thing that's kind of insignificant in the big scheme of things, and you attach it to the emotion that it really boils down to, that's where you're going to see yourself. You're going to be more attached to your goal, and you're going to be more driven. You're going to work from a place of purpose to be able to reach that goal. So this, like I said, this was something that I learned to do like 10 years ago, and it's been highly effective for me. And I still continue to use that every year, you know, in my business, and it's created a great deal of success, as well as teaching other people how to be able to do that same thing. I would say the other aspect of that are, we've heard of SMART goals. You know, we've heard of, you know, the breakdown of specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals. I think that that's good to couple with this. I am one, I can tell you, when I set goals, I set them very high. But it's usually one of those situations where, like, I've done the 250,000. So now my goal is $1 million in a year. And so it's, you know, and I've gone from 250 to up to 350,000. But then you think, man, well, why wouldn't you just go to 400 or 500,000? Because I want to push myself to a much bigger goal. And I'm the type of person that if I get to the end of the year and I've only made, I say only made 500,000, I've only made $500,000 a year, but my goal was $1 million, I will still reflect on the fact, well, wait a minute, I just did something that I still hadn't done before, but I was pushing for something bigger. Because one of the things that I learned from a mentor of mine is you should have a mindset that you never achieve your goal. And that's because the goal is always moving. Now, you know, I know there's different ways of thinking and looking at this. Some people, it's important for them to be able to achieve their goal. But for me, it was one of those things where if I set a goal and I'm getting close to it, I would always move the goal up because I want to push a little bit further just to see how much further I can go. It's almost like, you know, I'm a video game guy. I've played video games since I was a kid. And so it's almost gamifying your life from a standpoint of level. You know, when you think about video games, in order to get to the top level, you got to go through these other levels first. And so when I reach one level, I'm already thinking about the next level that I'm going to go to. So being able to push yourself through those goals. But then if you look at the SMART goals as well, this is something that I think is you can do whether you're setting the goal where it's super high or whether you're just setting it higher than, you know, a little bit higher than where you've been before. Using the SMART goal system is very effective. And first and foremost, making that goal specific, where it's very clear and specific what it is that you're trying to attain. You know, if we're talking about, you know, those dollar amounts that you're looking to make, that's a specific number. All right. If it's a weight loss, make it specific. Be clear on how much weight that you're looking to lose for yourself. If it's relationships goals, things of that nature, make those areas as specific as you possibly can in regards to what it is that you're trying to attain. A better relationship with my children, where, you know, we're having Sunday dinner once, you know, every Sunday, whatever the case may be, or a better relationship with my wife, where we're doing, you know, date night a couple of times a month, and we're communicating and we're, you know, actually having real conversations with one another. So being very specific with what the goal is, and then measurable. I think it's important that if you're setting a goal, you know, typically you're setting 6 month, a year, 5-year goals, but you have to measure it along the way. So if you have a year goal, you have to kind of take analysis. whether it's every other week, whether it's at least, I say, every month. At the end of each month, you have to take analysis of where you are now versus where you were the month prior, and was there progress? And that progress is leading you towards your goal. I think when you have a monetary goal or when you have a weight loss goal, it's very easy because you're working with numbers. It's very easy to see, are you, by, 112, am I 112 closer to where I want to be at the end of the year? So being able to make sure that you're measuring, those goals. And then the achievable, ensure the goal. This is, again, where there's a difference in opinion. For me, this says ensure that the goals are attainable and within available resources. I like to push the envelope in regards to that. But again, you could still make sure that the goals are attainable. Even when you're pushing the envelope, if you're surrounding yourself with the right people, that especially if you're in a business where you're the business owner, you're an entrepreneur, there's not really a ceiling on how much income you can make. In most cases, if you're in a job, there's only so many hours in a day, so many hours that you can work. And if your goal is monetary from that standpoint, then you got to be more realistic. But when you're working for yourself and you see people that are making 7 figures a year, and that's part of your goal, even though you may be a long way from it, you know that it's attainable because someone else has done it. So that's a part of that aspect that's going to stretch you in your thinking and how you go about achieving those goals. And then the goals need to be relevant to a broader life or your business objectives. Again, I think that's going to help to keep you on task of what it is that you're trying to achieve. That's also going to be the part of remembering, staying tied into the purpose. See, when it's not relevant, that's where it becomes easy down the road, especially when things get a little bit harder, to give up on the goal. As long as it's staying relevant, as long as you're reading it, writing it, meditating on it, and then attaching it to an emotion, it will stay relevant for you. That's where it doesn't, the goal doesn't dissipate over time because of the lack of staying connected to it. And then the time bound, I think, I know Napoleon Hill has always said, put a time frame on the goal. When you have that time frame, that's what allows you to have the measurable aspects of, am I moving closer to it in a timely fashion? Am I ahead of my goal, or am I running behind on reaching my goal based on when that time frame is? And that gives you, again, I look at that as kind of gamifying once again, because in a game, basketball, football, whatever the case, hockey, baseball, even there's a certain number of innings, there's going to be an end. And when you know that there's an end, if you set an end for it, it's going to create a sense of urgency for you. Even in the beginning, when you have all the time, it's going to create a sense of urgency of moving towards the goal, at a faster pace. So being able to set that time bound for yourself. So like I said, with that, those are really the steps that I have taken over, the past 10 years of being able to reach goals, achieve those goals, and then reset it, do it the following year. Again, hopefully that is something that will be helpful for you. What I would definitely suggest, like I said, if you're starting today, or even if you've been working on your goals since, whenever you started, January 1st, or whenever you started on your goals for this year, if you go through that process, especially if it's a monetary goal, go through the process of taking it from the number down to, what you would do when you're making, with those funds, when you're making that type of money. Who does it impact? And most importantly, really sit in the thoughts and the feelings of how it makes you feel, the emotion, because that's going to be the difference maker for you in growing your business. All right. My time is up today. Man, time flies when you're talking about goals, but definitely, hopefully something here resonated with you and is something that will help you to take the next steps in setting your goals and reaching for the life that you want for yourself. All right. Thanks, everyone. You have a great rest of your day.
If you'd like more information or to get connected to the Agent Power Huddle, join our free Facebook group. This call was designed for the agents in our EXP organization, but open to any agent from any brokerage. If you're a guest and you're interested in learning more about EXP or our specific resources within the Agent Collective, reach out to the person who invited you to this call to get more info. Produced by the Agent Collective Media Network.